American air superiority in the Middle East just hit a brick wall. While Washington was busy arguing over the fine print of the Islamabad Accords, Beijing just moved the chess pieces. CNN is now confirming that China is shipping advanced air defense systems, specifically next-gen MANPADS, directly to Iran. This isn't just another arms deal, it's a no-fly zone in a box. Tonight, we're looking at how China is effectively building a dragon's shield over Iranian skies, and why the Pentagon is quietly panicking about what this means for our boys in the region. So let's look at the intel. CNN, citing multiple intelligence sources, reports that China is bypassing traditional sanctions to deliver high-tech MANPADS, Man-Portable Air Defense Systems. We're likely talking about the QW series, Chinese for Qianwei, which are basically the Chinese equivalent of our Stingers, but with a nasty twist. They are designed specifically to counter Western electronic warfare. So the question is here, why now? Because the ceasefire we've been hearing about is proving to be a sieve. With Israel continuing strikes in Lebanon, Iran has realized that a diplomatic agreement with a new U.S. administration is only as good as the hardware backing it up. So look, as an American, we've seen this movie before. We send Stingers to one side, the other side finds a counter. But here's the kicker. China isn't doing this for ideology. They're doing it for the oil. Iran is China's gas station, and Beijing just decided to install a high-end security system to make sure that gas station stays open regardless of what Washington says. Now, you might be thinking, don't we have a ceasefire? Well, that's where things get messy. The Islamabad Accords were built on the idea that Iran would de-escalate if the U.S. backed off, but China just signaled to the world that they don't believe the accords will last. By flooding Iran with MANPADS, they are making any future Israeli or U.S. surgical strike incredibly expensive. If a $20,000 Chinese missile can take out a $100 million F-35, the math for intervention changes overnight. This isn't just about defending Iran, it's about China testing our resolve. They want to see if the Trump administration will risk a high-value pilot's life over a ceasefire violation in Lebanon. Honestly, it's a genius move by Beijing. They get to play the stabilizer while making it physically impossible for us to enforce the policeman role we've had since the 90s. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's working. We are about to dive into the secret red line that the Pentagon just drew in response to this shipment. And trust me, it's not what you'd expect. But before we get there, if you're tired of the 24-hour news cycle screaming at you and you actually want the context behind the headlines, you're in the right place. We do deep dives like this every week to make sure you're the smartest person in the room. If that sounds like something you value, hit that subscribe button and join the community. We're building something for people who actually want to think. All right, back to the Dragon Shield. I want to step back for a second and share some personal thoughts on this. I remember back in the early 2010s, the narrative was always that China was a sleeping giant that didn't want to get its hands dirty in the Middle East. We were wrong. What I've learned watching these patterns is that China doesn't want to replace us as the global policeman. They want to make the policeman obsolete. They want a world where they can trade with whoever they want, and we don't have the air power to stop them. For everyone at home wondering why your gas prices are tied to a missile shipment in Tehran, this is why. If China secures Iran's skies, they control the flow of energy to Asia. If they control that, they control the global market. We've spent trillions in the Middle East, and China is basically walking in and changing the locks on the door while we're still arguing about the rent. It's a hard pill to swallow, but we need to stop looking at this through the lens of 1991. This is 2026, and the rules have changed. Let's talk about the blind spot, Israel. The Israeli Air Force is legendary for its ability to strike anytime, anywhere. But these Chinese systems are specifically built to target low-altitude threats, the kind of altitudes drones and helicopters use. If Hezbollah gets their hands on these Chinese MANPADS via the Iranian pipeline, the Israeli Iron Dome won't be the only thing we're talking about. We'll be talking about an iron ceiling over Lebanon. This leads us to the biggest question of the week. If Israel can't fly over Lebanon safely, will they be forced to use ground troops? And if they do, is the U.S. prepared to get dragged into another 20-year quagmire to save a ceasefire that China just sabotaged? Here is the bottom line. China isn't just selling weapons, they're selling insulation. They are insulating Iran from Western pressure, and in doing so, they are making themselves the indispensable power in the Middle East. The Islamabad Accords might have been written in Pakistan, but the enforcement is now being manufactured in China. As we head into the weekend summit, watch the language coming out of the State Department. If they start sounding softer on China, you'll know the Dragon Shield is already working. Thanks for sticking with us through this deep dive. Leave a comment below. Do you think the U.S. should sanction China for this, or is it time we realized we can't stop every shipment on the planet?